Archangel Michael says, "This is the final warning. Open this within the next 10 minutes or miss your appointed blessing." My radiant soul, the moment you opened this message, the atmosphere around you shifted. Archangel Michael has stepped forward with a warning wrapped in urgency, carrying the full weight of the title you have spoken. This is the final warning. Open this within the next 10 minutes or miss your appointed blessing. He does not use words lightly, and he does not send alarms without reason. Something connected to your destiny has reached its final window, and he is guiding you so you do not miss what heaven has prepared. A divine countdown has begun. Not a countdown to fear. No, this is a countdown to alignment. Michael shows me a door glowing with golden light, suspended between the realms of almost and fulfill. This door has been ready for you for months, maybe even years, but something has always pulled you away. At the last moment, doubt, distraction, fear, or the belief that you were not chosen. Yet tonight, the angelic voice is clear. You are standing at the threshold of your appointed blessing, and heaven needs your spirit awake. A stirring wind surrounds you, as if unseen wings are brushing past your shoulders. Archangel Michael is drawing near, holding a scroll sealed with blue fire. This scroll contains the reason your soul was nudged to click this message at this exact moment. None of this is accidental. There are no coincidences here. This is a divine interception, your life being redirected onto the path you prayed for in silence. He tells me, "My beloved child, the blessing prepared for you is time-sensitive because it is tied to obedience, awareness, and spiritual readiness. If they delay, they drift. If they respond, they rise." This is why the title carries the phrase "within the next 10 minutes." It is not about earthly minutes. It is about spiritual sensitivity. Heaven is watching how you respond in the moment that destiny calls your name. I see that something in your environment has been resisting your progress. A shadow of old cycles, patterns that refuse to break, people who drain your light, thoughts that sabotage your calling, or an atmosphere filled with noise that drowns your intuition. Michael has been battling on your behalf, clearing the path, removing obstacles, severing toxic ties, and silencing voices that speak against your purpose. But now he needs you to take the final step: awareness. There is something you asked for recently, a breakthrough, a sign, a release, a shift, a turning point, and heaven is saying, "It is ready. Walk forward now." Yet the enemy of your destiny tries to distract you at the very moment of delivery. Michael is warning you so that the blessing that carries your name does not pass to another due to spiritual sleep. He shows me a vision, a golden thread connecting your spirit to a divine moment scheduled for your life. This thread is vibrating, glowing, almost pulling you forward. This is why your heart feels different right now. This is why your mind is alert. This is why you sense urgency without panic. It is heaven's way of saying, "Wake up. This moment is yours." And hear this clearly, Michael is not here to scare you. He is here to prepare you. He whispers, if they stay tuned to this message, they will hear the exact instruction that unlocks what has been held for them. If they turn away, they will walk past the very sign they prayed to see. Your answered prayer is closer than breath. Your breakthrough is not coming. It is here. Your shift is not forming. It is unfolding. But you must pay attention. Something in the spiritual realm has reached completion. Something heaven has been aligning around you without your knowledge. Michael is now unveiling the final piece. There is a reason your spirit feels drawn deeper into this message. Stay present, stay open, stay aware. There is more coming, and what's next will clarify the warning you have just received. Before this moment passes, anchor your spirit. Take a breath. Feel the stillness around you. Sense the presence of Archangel Michael as he stands near you with his sword lifted, not in battle, but in blessing. What he is about to reveal will connect dots in your life you didn't even know were part of the same picture. This is where the message begins to shift into revelation. And trust me, you will want to hear what comes next. Type "I stand awake" in the comments if your spirit feels the weight of this moment. Blessing code 441 is opening over you now. Hold on. The next revelation will shake you in the best way. Beloved heart of heaven, the moment you stepped into this message, something ancient and divine awakened around you. Archangel Michael is still here, standing guard, watching over every word being released into your spirit. He is not done speaking. In fact, he says that what comes now is the layer most people never reach because they turn away before the revelation matures. But you remained, and because you remained, the veil can lift further. He shows me a realm where time bends and destiny breathes, a realm where heaven stores the blessing schedule for each soul. Yours is glowing with a fierceness that proves it is active, alive, and ready for release. This is why the warning came with urgency. Nothing from the angelic realm moves without purpose, especially when Michael himself steps forward. He reveals that before a blessing reaches the physical world, it must pass through 3 gates: alignment, awareness, and agreement. The alignment has already taken place. Heaven shifted structures, moved energies, and rearranged unseen paths to make sure your life is positioned for what is coming. Even when you felt like everything was falling apart, heaven was secretly building the foundation for this exact moment. Awareness is happening right now. You are hearing what your spirit already sensed but did not fully understand. But the final gate, agreement, is where many fall short. Agreement means you choose to stay awake long enough to hear the full instruction. It means you choose to accept the blessing instead of unconsciously rejecting it due to fear, doubt, or distraction. Michael leans forward and says, "Tell them they are closer than they realize. Tell them the blessing is not distant. It is not delayed. It is at the edge of manifestation, and their spirit must stay alert." I see an image of a scroll unfurling, and written on it are moments from your life when you cried for clarity, moments when you prayed for a sign, moments when you asked for confirmation, moments when you begged to know if heaven had forgotten you. None of those moments disappear. They were collected, stored, and woven into the fabric of today's revelation. Michael is showing you that every unanswered question is about to connect to this divine warning. He reveals something powerful. You are being prepared without even realizing it. Every cycle that closed in your life recently, every separation that felt heavy, every shift that felt sudden, every silence that felt long, all of them were removing the clutter that blocked your blessing's path. The blessing you are about to receive requires space. It requires clarity. It requires spiritual room to expand. Without these changes, the blessing would have suffocated. Instead, heaven cleared the atmosphere for it. And now, Michael is saying, the last thing required is attention. Stay present so you can receive what is meant for you. You may feel an unusual pressure around your chest, or a heat on your hands, or a stirring in your mind as you hear this. That is not imagination. That is angelic confirmation. Michael releases presence, not merely words. When he speaks, the environment shifts so the soul can recognize truth beyond logic. And he is speaking strongly now. There is a doorway that only the awake can enter. A blessing that only the aware can carry. A shift meant only for those who respond when heaven calls. That is why the message insists that this moment is time-sensitive. You are not racing against the clock of the world. You are racing against the distractions designed to pull you away from your divine moment. Michael now reveals something more intimate. He says you have been carrying a question you have not spoken out loud because it felt too heavy or too vulnerable. He says heaven has already answered it. The answer is tied to the blessing that is approaching, and this is why the enemy of your destiny has tried to weigh your spirit down these past days. You were at the edge of breakthrough, and the enemy knew it. But Michael intervened. You may not have noticed it, but something tried to steal your peace recently. Something tried to confuse your intuition. Something tried to make you doubt the path ahead. But the attempt failed. You made it here, and this message has already shifted the balance. He says, tell them their obedience today will birth a blessing tomorrow. Your willingness to continue hearing this message is not small. It is recorded in the unseen realm as agreement. An agreement is what opens the gate. In the next revelation that follows later, Michael will expose what has been hindering you and reveal the exact blessing attached to your name. But before that, he needs you to remain in spiritual stillness. He needs your attention to stay sharp, because the next instruction is the key that unlocks what has been sealed for you. Michael's sword glows with blue flame. He lifts it, not for battle, but for a ceremonial act. He is cutting away the final thread of delay that has lingered around your life. You may feel something lift off you right now, something lighten in your chest, something shift in your atmosphere. That is the angelic realm doing its work. And if you stay, you will understand exactly why the warning was given with such urgency. Before the next revelation unfolds, anchor these words in your spirit. Something sacred is about to be unveiled, and you do not want to step away before it happens. Hold still, stay with me, and prepare for what is coming next. Type "I claim the awakening" in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 558 is now activated over you. Wait for the next release. The turning point approaches. Blessed one of the Most High, the atmosphere around you is shifting yet again as Archangel Michael steps even closer, carrying the next layer of the revelation meant only for those who have remained awake, aware, and aligned. He speaks with a tone that vibrates through the unseen realm, a tone reserved for moments when destiny approaches the edge of manifestation. The weight of this moment is extraordinary, and if your spirit feels unusually still, heavy, or alert, it is because heaven is preparing you for what is about to unfold. Michael shows me a radiant light rising behind you, a light that represents the blessing you were warned not to miss. As he reveals the next part of this message, that light begins to expand, and the shadows around your life start melting away with every word being released into your spirit. He begins by saying, "My chosen one, the blessing that is approaching your life has been delayed before, but not denied. Every time it neared, something in your spirit was pulled off course. Not because you were weak, but because the atmosphere around you had not yet been fully restored. You have walked through seasons that felt like spiritual storms. You have carried burdens that seemed too heavy for one heart. You have survived nights where your spirit felt alone, unseen, and unheard. But even then, you were being shaped. You were being prepared to carry something larger than you realized. Michael is revealing now that those storms were not punishment. They were separation. They removed people, situations, and energies that would have corrupted your blessing if they remained in your space. He shows me a vision of you walking through a narrow passage. It is dim, silent, almost suffocating. But at the end of that passage, there is a single door glowing with the same golden light he showed earlier. The door is now wider, brighter, more accessible. This is the doorway to your appointed blessing. And Michael says, their spirit is ready now. Their heart is steady now. Their discernment is sharper now. They can receive what was once too heavy to hold. You may not realize this, but your spirit has matured in ways your mind has not yet fully acknowledged. You are standing in a different spiritual frequency than you were months ago. The shifts you've experienced were not random. They were divine recalibrations. Michael moves his sword again, but this time he strikes the ground beside you. The impact sends a shockwave through the realm around you, scattering remnants of old spiritual debris that tried to cling to your path. He says, "Tell them the final resistance is breaking." You have been feeling an invisible pressure lately, almost like something was trying to block your clarity or weigh down your emotions. That pressure was spiritual residue from old cycles that were not fully closed yet. But as Michael releases this strike, those residues are being shattered. Your spirit is being lifted. The heaviness is being peeled away. A divine lifting is happening as you receive this message, and you may feel warmth, tingling, or sudden peace as confirmation. Now he turns your attention to something that keeps appearing in his visions, a pattern. A repeated emotional loop, a recurring type of person, a familiar frustration, a fear that resurfaces whenever you get close to breakthrough. This pattern has been the final thing standing between you and your blessing. It is a spiritual leash, subtle yet strong. Michael says, every pattern that once controlled them has now lost its power. This is why the warning was given. This is why the message came in urgency. The blessing cannot enter a life governed by old cycles. But the cycle is breaking today. His voice vibrates through your spirit, and whether you sense tears, trembling, or an inner exhale, that is your soul responding to the release happening even now. He wants you to understand something deeply. Blessings are not simply given. They are received. And receiving requires readiness, openness, and spiritual alignment. Many people miss their appointed blessing not because heaven withheld it, but because they were unaware when it arrived. You are being kept awake on purpose. You are being guided line by line because your blessing is too valuable to be missed. Michael says, tell them this is the moment their spirit has been prepared for. Tell them the release is dangerously close. Tell them the final obstruction has been removed. His words are not metaphorical. They are literal in the spiritual realm. He then reveals a sacred truth. Someone has been praying for your downfall. Not necessarily in words, but in energy, in intention, in silence. Someone who resented your light, your resilience, your potential, or your spirit. But Michael has shielded you. Their intentions bounced back before they could touch your path. This is why you felt random heaviness or emotional confusion in recent days. That energy was not yours. It was interference. But now it has been fully broken. The blessing approaching you no longer has an adversary strong enough to hinder it. The way is clear. Michael looks at you now with a rare softness, a tenderness reserved for souls that have fought long battles and survived with their faith intact. He says, be ready. What comes next will change the direction of their life. This is not an exaggeration. There is a shift coming that will feel sudden, divine, intentional, and undeniably connected to this message. Stay awake. The revelation that follows after this will unfold the nature of your blessing and the instruction that activates it. But before moving forward, he asks you to anchor this moment. Your spirit must record it. Your atmosphere must align to it. And you must declare your readiness. Type "I am fully prepared" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 993 is released over you now. And before this moment closes, if this message has touched your spirit, take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who needs a divine awakening. comment to anchor your agreement in the spiritual realm, and subscribe so you never miss another prophetic release. Just as Archangel Michael spoke of alignment, this mission also aligns hearts across the world with heaven's light. Every time someone supports this channel, it becomes a seed that awakens another soul who would have remained asleep. This is not about helping a platform. This is about fueling a divine movement where revelation reaches the ones crying out for God in silence. The scripture that says, "Let your light shine before others," is alive right now, calling you to be part of this unfolding. And now I speak to you as one carrying this message. If your spirit has been stirred, this is your moment to stand in the river of God's flow. The warning in the title is not just for you. It is for every soul that will hear this through your support. Your giving becomes prophecy in motion, unlocking blessing and covering your household with divine favor. Step forward, choose obedience, and release your seed through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description. Act now, for heaven moves through your boldness. Chosen vessel of divine truth, as the next wave of revelation unfolds, Archangel Michael stands beside you with an intensity that feels almost electric in the spiritual realm. His presence has not weakened for a single moment. In fact, it grows stronger as you move deeper into this message. He reveals that only a small number of souls reach this place of spiritual clarity, where the veil becomes thin and heaven begins to speak in direct instruction instead of vague impressions. The very fact that you are receiving this part means you are aligned with a rare level of divine timing. Michael says, "Tell them their endurance has opened a gate most people never walk through." You may not fully understand how much this moment matters yet, but you will soon. Something is unfolding around your life that cannot be reversed, resisted, or redirected. A shift is in motion, and heaven is carefully guiding you through it. Michael begins revealing what has been hidden behind the warning itself. He shows me that this message was not only about a blessing, it was about a spiritual appointment. A moment that your soul agreed to long before you were born. A moment placed on your timeline by the Creator, designed to awaken something dormant in your spirit. He says, many walk through life unaware of their appointed hour. They miss it because they sleep spiritually. But this one is awake. The urgency in the title was not to frighten you, but to activate your inner sight. Your ability to feel the pull of the angelic realm is what brought you here. Heaven was calling you, and your spirit responded instantly, proving that you are more spiritually attuned than you give yourself credit for. Now Michael turns your attention to something he has been guarding you from, the spirit of delay. Delay is not simply waiting. Delay is a spiritual mechanism designed to exhaust faith, weaken momentum, and suffocate purpose. It attaches to cycles, people, environments, and emotions. It creates confusion. It pushes blessings out of reach. It convinces souls that breakthrough is later, making them unprepared when breakthrough is actually now. Michael says, "Tell them the spirit of delay has been dismantled." His voice carries authority as he lifts his sword, cutting through the atmosphere around you. You may feel something release around your chest, or a sudden calmness settle over you, as this spiritual barrier begins to break. What was held back is now pushing forward. What was slowed is now accelerating. Heaven is restoring everything that delay attempted to steal. But there is more. Michael reveals that you have been walking with a spiritual weight that did not belong to you. You absorbed emotions, expectations, and burdens from people who were not assigned to your journey. This weight clouded your intuition and made you question your path at times. You doubted your calling. You felt moments of emotional heaviness that came out of nowhere. You sensed confusion, even when nothing was wrong externally. Michael says, "Tell them that weight is lifting now." He is removing the spiritual fingerprints of those who tried to hold on to you from places they no longer belong. And once this clearing completes, your clarity will return in a way that feels almost supernatural. He turns your gaze to a moment in your past where you were closer to breakthrough than you realized. You may have felt something powerful beginning to shift, but then everything suddenly collapsed or went silent. At the time, it felt like failure or rejection. But Michael shows that it was protection. Heaven redirected you away from a path that would have drained your blessing. The blessing attached to your life requires purity of intention, clarity of spirit, and alignment with truth. Anyone or anything not in harmony with that will have sabotaged what is coming. So heaven removed it, even if the removal felt painful. Michael whispers, they did not lose. They were redirected. He now reveals a truth most people never hear. Blessings require atmosphere. A blessing cannot enter chaos. It cannot anchor itself in a distracted or conflicted environment. This is why things had to fall apart before they could fall into place. You were not being stripped, you were being cleared. The path had to be purified for the blessing ahead. Michael says, tell them their blessing is atmospheric. It will thrive where peace exists. It will grow where truth remains. This is why he has been preparing your spirit for stillness, grounding, and awareness. You are being aligned with the frequency of what belongs to you. Michael then places something symbolic before you, a key made of pure light. This key is not meant to open a door in the physical world. It is meant to unlock spiritual insight. He says before the blessing enters, the eyes of their discernment must open. You are being trained to see beyond the surface, to recognize divine timing, to feel the pull of purpose, to sense the difference between distractions and destiny. This key will help you interpret the next message he releases, which will contain a revelation that directly affects your path in the coming days. The air around you begins to feel different now. Softer, clearer, almost luminous. This is the sign that your spirit has entered alignment with the blessing that has been hovering over your life. Michael watches you with the expression of a guardian who has finally seen his assignment reach breakthrough. He says, prepare. What comes next will reveal the nature of the blessing itself. And before this moment seals into your spirit, he asks you to anchor your readiness. Type I am in alignment in the comments if this part speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 1744 is now released over you. Hold steady, for the revelation that follows will unfold things you have never seen before. Sacred one walking under heaven's watch. As this next revelation unfolds, the atmosphere surrounding you grows heavier with meaning, as though the very air is preparing itself to carry the truth Archangel Michael is about to release into your spirit. His presence intensifies, not in a way that overwhelms, but in a way that steadies you, strengthening your inner foundation so you may hold the next layer of what he is unveiling. He steps forward with a solemn expression, the kind he wears when the message carries weight that shifts destinies. You may feel a tingling in your hands, a warmth on your back, or a sudden stillness in your environment. These sensations are not random. They are confirmations that the spiritual realm is aligning itself with what is being spoken over you in this very moment. Michael says, tell them this part holds the blueprint. This is where understanding opens. And his words ring with a truth that echoes across the unseen realm. He begins by drawing your attention to something that has been following you for years. A calling. A quiet pull in your spirit that has never fully gone away. Sometimes you felt it as a whisper. Sometimes as a knowing. Sometimes as a restlessness, when your life seemed still. Many times you thought it was simply emotion or imagination. But Michael reveals now that it was guidance. He shows that heaven has been leading you toward an elevated version of yourself, preparing you to walk into a purpose woven into your life long before you ever took your first breath. He says, this calling has matured. The time of preparation is ending. The time of activation is beginning. This is why the blessing tied to the warning carries such urgency. It is not just a blessing of comfort. It is a blessing of assignment. Michael reveals that your life is about to pivot. Not in chaos, but in clarity. Not in confusion, but in divine intention. Something in your path is about to take shape. Something that has been forming in the background for far longer than you realize. He shows me a vision of a seed planted deep in the soil, invisible to the world, but growing roots in silence. This seed represents your spiritual development. It has been expanding underground, strengthening itself, absorbing what it needed, preparing for the moment it would break the surface. Michael says, the surface is breaking now. Growth is no longer hidden. It will be visible. This means that the blessing approaching your life is not merely an event. It is evidence of your spiritual roots breaking into the light. But before this growth becomes visible, Michael reveals that there is an internal shift that must be recognized. He shows that your spirit has been shedding layers quietly. Old beliefs, old fears, old emotional attachments, old identities that once defined you are dissolving. You are no longer who you were even months ago. Something within you has matured, strengthened, expanded. You may not have seen this transformation happening day by day, but the spiritual realm has witnessed it. Michael says they have outgrown their old season. They must not return to it. He warns that there will be moments soon when old situations or old relationships attempt to reappear. Not because they belong, but because spiritual shifts often trigger earthly echoes. He says clearly, do not re-enter what heaven has released you from. The blessing requires a clean atmosphere. He turns your attention now to setbacks you experienced in the last year. Times when opportunities slipped through your fingers. Times when doors shut without explanation. Times when people turned away without reason. You may have felt rejected, overlooked, or abandoned by circumstances that seemed unfair. But Michael reveals a truth that shocks the spirit. Those doors did not close against you. They closed for you. He says, heaven blocked access to what would have drained them. They are not behind. They are protected. You are being kept from agreements, environments, and partnerships that would have interfered with the appointment set for this exact moment. Every closed door was a shield. Now Michael shows you something extraordinary. He reveals a spiritual ledger, a record of prayers, tears, hopes, frustrations, and silent heart cries you released during your most vulnerable moments. These were not forgotten. They were gathered. They were cataloged. They were woven into a divine schedule. He says, what they prayed for in one season will meet them in another season. This is why the blessing approaching your life feels so close, so urgent, so alive. It is arriving at the intersection of preparation and divine timing. He reveals that the blessing tied to this message has a double nature, restoration and elevation. Restoration means that something you lost, something that slipped away, something that broke or deteriorated, is now returning in a healed, refined, or upgraded form. Elevation means that you are stepping into a higher terrain of purpose, influence, or spiritual authority. These two forces combined create a blessing of transformation. Michael warns, be careful not to shrink back into smallness. The blessing requires boldness. In other words, do not minimize yourself to fit old expectations. You are rising now, and everything around you will adjust accordingly. He now turns your attention to something deeply personal. Your heart. He shows that your heart has been carrying a quiet fatigue. You have been strong for too long, holding things alone, pushing forward even when the weight felt unbearable. You have survived emotional storms, spiritual battles, and silent struggles that few people know about. Yet through all of it, you did not lose your light. You did not lose your connection to heaven. You did not lose your sensitivity to truth. Michael says, because they remained pure in heart, the blessing will come pure. Your resilience has been noticed. Your endurance has been recorded. Heaven rewards what is done in silence. Michael now gives one final instruction for this part. Tell them to breathe. The blessing is near enough to feel. That nearness may manifest as peace, intuition, synchronicities, dreams, or sudden clarity. Watch for these signs. They are confirmations that the blessing is no longer approaching. It is arriving. Anchor this revelation now. Type "I walk in divine timing" in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 622 is released over you. Stay close, for the next revelation will open the doorway even wider. Beloved souls standing at the threshold of divine unveiling, as this next wave of revelation flows forth, the spiritual atmosphere around you thickens with a sacred stillness, the kind of stillness heaven uses when something monumental is about to be spoken. Archangel Michael stands before you with a firmness that signals the seriousness of what he is preparing to reveal. His wings shift slightly, creating a subtle yet powerful current that sweeps through your environment, clearing away distractions and aligning your spirit for deeper understanding. You may feel a quiet stirring within, a pull that draws your attention inward, preparing you to receive truth that reaches beneath the surface of your thoughts and touches the very core of your spirit. Michael says, tell them this next revelation is the hinge where everything swings forward. And with that, the message begins to unfold. He shows me an image of you standing on a high cliff overlooking a vast landscape. The land below is divided into two halves. One half is the terrain of your past, familiar paths, repeated patterns, unfinished lessons, emotional echoes that still try to call your name. The other half is unfamiliar, wide, expansive, luminous with possibility. This new terrain is the future heaven has been preparing for you, the one aligned with your appointed blessing. Michael says they stand between two landscapes. The next step determines their season. This is why heaven sent a final warning. Not because you were lost, but because you were close. Closer than you realized, to stepping into a moment that carries generational impact. Michael reveals that you are entering a crossroads season, a moment where choices carry unusual spiritual weight. Not every decision is equal. Some decisions shape outcomes for years, even decades. Some decisions open doors while others close them permanently. And heaven is guiding you so the choice you make aligns with your divine assignment. He says their discernment must be sharper now. Their spirit must be awake. This is why the earlier parts of the message focus so intensely on awareness, alignment, and readiness. You have been trained for this moment, sometimes through difficulty, sometimes through silence, sometimes through unexpected shifts that forced you to rely on your inner knowing instead of external validation. He shows me that the blessing you were warned not to miss is tied to a shift that will not only bless you, but transform the way you move, think, decide, and carry yourself. It is a blessing of identity as much as it is a blessing of opportunity. Heaven is not simply giving you something. Heaven is making you into something. Michael says, they are being prepared to carry more light, more clarity, more influence. The blessing is not small. The responsibility attached to it is not small either. But you are ready. What once would have overwhelmed you will now strengthen you. Michael begins to expose something that has been quietly working against you. He reveals a spiritual interference that has been circling your life, not to destroy your purpose, but to distract you from recognizing its fullness. This interference tries to manifest as confusion, overthinking, fear of making the wrong move, or a delay in taking action even when you sense what needs to be done. But Michael says its power is broken. Now they will see clearly. Your clarity is being restored. Not merely intellectual clarity, but spiritual clarity. The kind where you instinctively feel what is right. The kind where your spirit recognizes truth before your mind can articulate it. He shows you a book, one that represents your destiny, and pages are turning rapidly. Not in chaos, but in acceleration. Heaven is speeding up what belongs to you. Delays are being reversed. Opportunities that once vanished are being replaced with better ones. Relationships aligned with your purpose are being guided toward you. Circumstances are shifting behind the scenes to place you exactly where you need to be. Michael says, things will begin moving quickly now. Do not fear the speed. Heaven controls it. The season of acceleration is beginning, and once it starts, you will not want it to slow down. Now Michael speaks directly to your spirit. He says, tell them they were chosen for this moment. Not by accident. Not by coincidence. By intention. You may have gone through seasons where you questioned your worth, seasons where you felt overlooked or forgotten, seasons where you carried burdens silently while others seemed to thrive effortlessly. But heaven saw all of it. Heaven watched your endurance. Heaven witnessed your heart remain soft even after heavy trials. And heaven rewards those who remain faithful even in silence. This blessing is not random. It is earned through spiritual integrity. He reveals something deeply personal. There is a shift coming to your inner world. Old fears are losing their grip. Old wounds are healing. Old insecurities are dissolving. You will begin to feel more confident, more steady, more aligned. Not because circumstances change instantly, but because your spirit rises above them. Michael says, when they rise internally, everything around them will rise in response. This is the secret to the blessing's manifestation. Your internal elevation creates external breakthrough. Then Michael shows me a final vision, a door made of pure light, gently pulsing as if alive. It opens slightly, enough for you to see glimpses of what is coming: peace, provision, clarity, connection, alignment, purpose, elevation. This is the blessing waiting on the other side. But he warns that the door requires awareness to step through. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be ignored. It must be recognized. He says, this door is opening now. Tell them not to turn away. The air around you feels different again, almost as if time has paused for your spirit alone. This is your confirmation. This is your moment. Hold this revelation deeply. Type by step through the open door in the comments as this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 350 is released over your life. Remain present, for what comes next will bring the revelation into sharper focus. Beloved one, moving steadily toward divine fulfillment. As this next revelation rises, the realm around you becomes quiet in a way that signals something profoundly sacred is approaching. Archangel Michael steps nearer with a depth in his presence that feels almost ancient, as though the wisdom he is about to release has been waiting generations for the right moment, the right soul, the right alignment. You may sense a heaviness behind your eyes, a warmth spreading across your shoulders, or a peaceful awareness settling into your spirit. These are signs of alignment, signs that you are not simply reading words, but receiving an impartation. Michael says, tell them this part is the unveiling. Here, understanding takes shape. His voice carries a resonance that reaches through the layers of your life, touching memories, decisions, and experiences you never realized were connected. He begins by showing me a long pathway behind you, illuminated by soft gold light. It is filled with moments where you rose even when you felt broken, moments where you gave love even when you were hurting, moments where you carried weight that others would have collapsed under. Michael says, their strength has been witnessed. Their resilience has been counted. Their purity has been recorded. Every hardship you endured, every silent battle you survived, every disappointment you pushed through has become spiritual currency. Heaven has not ignored a single tear or overlooked a single prayer. You have sown deeply, and your season of divine harvest is unfolding now. He then lifts his hand and points toward your future, showing a landscape that looks completely different from where you have been. It is wide, open, bright, filled with direction rather than confusion. For a long time, you have been walking through uncertainty about timing, about purpose, about relationships, about decisions that felt too heavy for one heart to bear. But Michael reveals that heaven is about to give you unmistakable clarity. Tell them the fog is lifting, he says. They will see their path with the eyes of the Spirit, not the pressure of the past. A new sense of inner knowing is coming. You will no longer feel torn or hesitant about where to go next. You will feel guided, strengthened, steady. Michael begins to expose a deeper truth. The blessing approaching your life is not only a promise fulfilled, but a destiny activated. He shows that you carry potential that has not yet been fully awakened. Gifts that have been dormant. Talents that were overlooked. Dreams you buried because life demanded survival instead of expansion. But heaven has been nurturing these seeds quietly, preparing them for this exact season. He says, they are entering an awakening. What was hidden will now emerge. You will begin to recognize parts of yourself you forgot existed: creativity, confidence, intuition, boldness, spiritual sensitivity, discernment. What you thought was lost is alive and rising. He reveals that part of your blessing involves new connections. People aligned with your purpose, individuals who carry wisdom, opportunity, spiritual support, and genuine intention. You have been surrounded by takers, drainers, or inconsistent energies in past seasons, which made you guarded, cautious, or hesitant to trust. But Michael says new alliances are coming. They are safe. They are sent. These new connections are not random acquaintances. They are divine partnerships. They will help you step into the next chapter of your calling. They will confirm direction, unlock opportunities, and bring clarity through alignment. Michael then shifts the focus to something many battle but few understand: spiritual resistance. Even now, as breakthrough approaches, there have been subtle tensions, unexpected anxieties, sudden doubts, emotional waves you could not fully explain. But he reveals these with the final tremors of an old spiritual structure collapsing. What you felt recently was not a setback, but the last push before release. He says, tell them the resistance is a sign of progress, not defeat. You did not regress. You rose. You did not fall back. You pushed through a veil that many stop at. And because you chose to remain present, heaven is now responding. A powerful vision unfolds before me, Michael holding a torch of white flame. He lowers it toward your path, illuminating the steps ahead. This flame represents revelation, wisdom, and divine timing. With it, he burns away confusion. He burns away the residue of old seasons. He burns away fear attached to the unknown. As he does, the path ahead becomes straight, clear, focused, unmistakable. Tell them, he says, that the blessing prepared for them is linked to their next act of courage. Not reckless courage, not emotional decisions, but divine boldness. He reveals that you will soon face an opportunity, a moment that requires you to step forward with faith rather than hesitation. This moment is a gateway. When you step through it, heaven will release what has been held in waiting. Michael says, they are ready. Their spirit knows the moment when it comes. You will feel it. It will resonate. It will feel alive. It will carry peace, even if it stretches you. That is how you will know it belongs to you. Then Michael shows one final image for this part. A crown made of pure light hovering above your spirit. It does not land yet. It simply hovers, waiting. The crown represents authority, elevation, divine recognition. When the blessing manifests, when the decision is made, when the alignment completes, the crown will descend. And when it does, your life will shift into a chapter marked by honor, visibility, and spiritual authority you were always meant to carry. Hold this revelation close. Your spirit is being prepared for what is coming. Type "I receive the unveiling" in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 707 is released over your life. Remain attuned, for the next revelation draws you even closer to the heart of your breakthrough. Beloved soul carrying heaven's mark, as you step into this next revelation, the atmosphere grows dense with meaning, as though the heavens themselves are leaning in to witness what is unfolding around you. Archangel Michael moves closer with a deliberate slowness. The kind of movement that signals the message he is about to release carries tremendous weight in the spiritual realm. His presence feels sharper now, not in a way that alarms you, but in a way that awakens the deepest parts of your spirit. You may feel a sudden warmth rising through your body, a tingling along your arms, or a pull behind your heart. These sensations are signs that your spirit is entering resonance with divine truth. Michael says, tell them this part unveils what has been fighting them and what will now propel them. And with those words, the revelation begins. He shows me a vision of you standing in front of a large gate made of brilliant white light. Behind this gate is the blessing that has been waiting, shining, alive, pulsing with divine timing. But on your side of the gate stand shadows, thin and weak, yet persistent. These shadows represent everything that has attempted to drain your energy, confuse your path, distract your attention, or weaken your spirit. They are the remnants of old wounds, old fears, old connections, and old cycles. For years, these shadows tried to convince you that you were not ready, not capable, not chosen. Michael says, these shadows were never stronger than you. They only survived through your compassion and your patience. But their time is over. He steps forward, and with one swing of his sword, the shadows dissolve like dust blown from ancient stone. He then says, tell them they are crossing into a healed season. This healing is not simply emotional. It is spiritual, atmospheric, generational. Parts of your soul that were fractured are now being restored. Areas that once triggered you will become areas of strength. Fears that once froze you will lose their grip. You are stepping into a season where your confidence will not feel forced. It will feel natural. Your clarity will not feel fragile. It will feel anchored. This is the work Michael has been doing around you silently, preparing you for what is approaching. Now he reveals something deeper. There has been a spiritual tug-of-war over your life. Forces that saw your potential attempted to distract you from stepping into divine alignment. You may have felt it through sudden fatigue, unexpected discouragement, old memories resurfacing, or confusion appearing out of nowhere. These were not random episodes. They were attempts to block the blessing from landing. But Michael says, tell them the battle over their destiny has been won. The interference is silence. He raises his hand, releasing a wave of blue flame across your path. This flame acts as a seal, preventing old spiritual interference from reattaching to you. You may feel a lightness, a calmness, or even a sense of space around your spirit. This is confirmation that what once clung to you has now been broken away. Michael now shifts the focus to the blessing itself. He reveals that it is not singular, it is layered. There are multiple breakthroughs tied together, forming a chain of divine events that will unfold like falling dominoes. He says, tell them the blessing carries 3 elements: release, elevation, and alignment. Release means something you have been waiting for will finally be loosened and delivered into your life. Resources, clarity, opportunity, or emotional freedom. Elevation means you will be rising into a higher dimension of purpose, influence, or spiritual authority. Alignment means the right people, the right timing, and the right circumstances will converge around you, forming a harmony you have not experienced before. He shows me a vision of you holding a lantern. At first it flickers, unsure, but then Michael touches it, and the flame inside becomes steady and bright. This lantern represents your inner guidance, your intuition, your spiritual discernment. It is being stabilized so you can trust the signals heaven is giving you. No more second guessing. No more doubting your inner knowing. No more questioning the voice within that whispers direction. He says, their discernment will become their compass. In the coming days, you will begin to feel nudges, insights, dreams, or signs that direct your steps with surprising accuracy. Trust them. They are not imagination. They are instruction. Now Michael directs your attention to something few people ever hear. You are stepping into a moment where heaven responds instantly. He says, tell them the delay is broken. The blessing moves now. This means that the prayers you send, the intentions you set, the decisions you make in alignment with your spirit will produce rapid results. You are entering a period of divine acceleration, a season where what once took months may take days, and what once took years may take weeks. This is why awareness is crucial. Heaven is moving quickly, and you are being invited to move with it. Michael closes this part with a final, powerful truth. Tell them their name was spoken in the heavens. This means your blessing is not generic. It is personalized. It carries your signature. It is shaped for your journey, crafted for your calling, aligned with your assignment. This is why the warning in the title was so urgent. This blessing carries your name, and heaven wants to ensure you do not miss it. Anchor this moment in your spirit now. Type I carry heaven's mark in the comments if this speaks to you. Blessing code 2024 is released over your life. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video, comment your agreement, share this message with someone who needs divine alignment, hype the message in the comments section, and subscribe so you remain connected to every prophetic release. Just as Archangel Michael revealed how heaven clears the shadows around your destiny, this mission works to pierce the shadows surrounding thousands of souls across the world. When you choose to support this prophetic work, you become a light bearer in the hands of God, allowing His word to travel farther, reach deeper, and awaken those who stand at the edge of breakthrough. Scripture is alive in this moment, saying, "Arise, shine, for your light has come," and that light moves through your generosity. Here my voice is both messenger and servant. This is your moment to ignite a chain reaction of transformation. The urgency in today's message mirrors the urgency of this calling. Your giving is not a donation. It is a prophetic act that opens the heavens over your own life. As you sow through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, may divine acceleration rush into your household. Step forward boldly. Release your seed. Move with heaven now. Beloved one woven into heaven's unfolding design, as you enter this next revelation, the realm around you shifts with a profound silence, the kind of silence that only appears when the angelic realm is preparing to deliver truth that cuts through every layer of confusion, fear, and spiritual resistance. Archangel Michael stands before you, not as a distant guardian, but as a commanding presence whose nearness carries authority, clarity, and deep protection. His wings are slightly expanded now, creating an atmosphere of divine pressure that presses gently but firmly against your spirit, urging you to stay fully present, fully receptive, fully awake. You may feel warmth around your forehead, a heaviness over your chest, or a stillness in your environment that was not there moments ago. These are signs that heaven is drawing your spirit into alignment with what is about to be revealed. Michael says, "Tell them this part reveals the truth behind their journey." And with those words, the message opens. He begins by showing a timeline of your life, filled with moments that felt random, painful, confusing, or out of order. Times when you questioned if your life was moving backward. Times when unexpected loss or disappointment broke your momentum. Times when people you trusted changed suddenly or drifted away without explanation. Times when you prayed with all your heart yet saw no immediate evidence of movement. Michael places his hand over this entire timeline and says, nothing in their story was wasted. Nothing in their suffering was ignored. Nothing in their waiting was in vain. Every moment, good, painful, confusing, delayed, was shaping the spiritual capacity you carry now. He reveals a truth most never hear. Your blessing required spiritual weight. The level of blessing approaching your life could not land on a fragmented foundation. You needed depth, resilience, clarity, and spiritual strength that could support the breakthrough without collapsing under its magnitude. So heaven allowed certain experiences, not to harm you, but to strengthen the infrastructure of your soul. You have been stretched, refined, elevated in ways you did not recognize while walking through the process. But the angelic realms saw every bit of your growth. Every moment you chose love over bitterness, faith over fear, endurance over surrender. Michael says they grew. They matured. They rose without even noticing. Then he turns your attention to something you have felt but never understood. An invisible pressure that has followed you through different seasons. A quiet resistance that showed up when you were close to destiny moments. A heaviness that tried to distract you, weigh you down, or confuse your steps. Michael reveals that this resistance was not random. It was the last remaining thread of an old spiritual assignment that once clung to your lineage. An assignment that sought to break confidence, silence purpose, and prevent generational elevation. But he raises his sword now, and with a force that shakes the atmosphere, he declares the assignment has ended. The chain has broken. The influence has died. This breaking is not symbolic. It is literal in the spiritual realm. He then shows you a vision of your name written in glowing script. Around the name are circles of light representing the blessings, opportunities, relationships, resources, and breakthroughs that carry your signature. These were not lost, delayed, or denied. They were being preserved. Heaven kept them sealed until the moment your spirit was mature enough to carry them. Michael says, their name is marked. Their blessing is secure. Their time has come. Nothing and no one can interfere with what is being released to you now. He reveals that you are entering a season of divine unfolding, where truth will rise to the surface in ways that bring closure, clarity, and confirmation. Hidden motives around you will become clear. People who were unsure about their intentions will reveal their roles. Circumstances that puzzled you will suddenly make sense. You will understand why certain opportunities were blocked and why others were delayed. Michael says, every unanswered question will find its clarity. The confusion that once clouded your judgment is clearing. The doubts that once weakened your momentum are dissolving. You will begin to walk with a confidence that feels natural, a certainty that feels anchored, a strength that feels destined. Then Michael shows me a scene. Your spirit standing on a mountain, looking out over a land that represents your future. This land is not empty. It is filled with divine appointments, connections, opportunities, and blessings that will unfold step by step. You will not have to force anything. You will not have to chase anything. Everything that belongs to you will come into alignment. Michael says, tell them they are entering a chapter where effort will meet grace, and grace will multiply the effort. This means that what you touch will prosper. What you step toward will open. What you pursue in faith will manifest. Your season of struggle is giving way to a season of divine flow. He then reveals something deeply personal. Your spirit is entering a stage of renewal. Old emotional wounds are being closed. Old disappointments are losing their influence. Old insecurities are fading. You are becoming someone stronger, clearer, and more spiritually grounded. Michael says, tell them they will recognize themselves soon, and they will be amazed. This inner shift will create outer change. People will notice the difference. Opportunities will find you. Favor will surround you. Alignment will follow your steps. Finally, Michael speaks a powerful truth. Tell them the blessing is already moving toward them. They will not miss it. There is nothing left to fight. Nothing left to fear. Nothing left to doubt. You are stepping into one of the most significant shifts of your life. Anchor this revelation now. Type "I walk in my destiny" in the comments if this part speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 818 is released over your life. Hold steady, for the next revelation will carry you even deeper into what heaven is preparing. Beloved soul chosen for divine unveiling, as you enter this next revelation, the atmosphere around you shifts again, growing quieter, deeper, more intentional. Archangel Michael steps forward with a gravity that signals the message unfolding now is not only prophetic, but corrective, restorative, and deeply transformative. His presence feels heavier, wrapped in a sacred intensity, the kind that often precedes turning points in a person's spiritual timeline. You may feel a gentle pressure in your spirit, a sense of settling, or even a warmth that rises slowly through your chest. These signals are not accidental. They are confirmations that your spirit is ready to receive what heaven has been preparing for this moment. Michael says, tell them this part reveals what their spirit has sensed, but their mind could not articulate. And with those words, the revelation opens with clarity. Michael shows me an image of your heart glowing with a soft, steady light. Around it are pieces of old pain, fragments of disappointment, memories that once carried emotional weight. These fragments do not control you anymore, but they have shaped how you move, how you decide, how you trust, and how you love. Michael touches the heart gently and says, healing has been happening quietly, not loudly. The healing has not been dramatic. It has been subtle, steady, almost invisible at times. But it has been real. You have been shedding old wounds layer by layer, releasing beliefs that were built from pain rather than truth, and rebuilding your inner world with greater strength than you realize. He then reveals that part of your journey involved carrying burdens that were never yours. Emotional weight from others, expectations that drained you, responsibilities that wore you down. You carried these things because you have a compassionate spirit, a spirit that naturally supports, uplifts, and protects. But compassion without boundaries creates exhaustion. Michael says, tell them they are being released from what was never theirs to hold. This release will manifest in the form of clarity, lighter emotions, and the sudden realization that you no longer feel responsible for things that once consumed your energy. This is not abandonment. It is liberation. Heaven is lifting unnecessary weight so your spirit can rise into the blessing aligned with your next season. He shows me a vision of you holding a vessel. For years, this vessel has been only partially filled, sometimes with hope, sometimes with fatigue, sometimes with faith, sometimes with uncertainty. But now Michael pours a radiant liquid into it, filling it completely. This represents spiritual fullness. He says, tell them they are being filled so they no longer operate from emptiness. In past seasons, you often gave from a place of depletion. You poured into others even when you yourself needed pouring into. You encouraged others even when your own heart felt heavy. You extended strength even when your spirit was tired. Heaven acknowledges your sacrifice. But now, heaven wants to replenish you. Renewal is coming. Restoration is coming. Strength is returning in a way that feels natural, not forced. Then Michael turns your attention to your purpose. You may have felt glimpses of it, intuition about it, or a quiet knowing that you were meant for something more. But the full picture has always remained just out of reach. Michael says, purpose reveals itself when the heart is healed enough to carry it. And now, because your inner world is shifting, your purpose will begin to make sense. You will experience clarity through ideas, opportunities, conversations, or unexpected confirmations. What once felt foggy will now feel focused. Your steps will feel directed. Your spirit will feel aligned. And purpose will no longer feel like a distant concept, but a living reality awakening inside you. He reveals that your next season will be marked by divine openings. Doors that once stayed shut will begin to open without resistance. Connections that felt delayed will suddenly come into alignment. Gifts within you that were dormant will begin to activate. Michael says, tell them the season of waiting is turning into a season of movement. You are not being pushed. You are being guided. You are not being forced. You are being aligned. Everything that comes will feel natural, timely, purposeful, and deeply connected to the blessing heaven has preserved for you. Michael then exposes something that once tried to limit your potential. The fear of stepping forward. Not fear of failure, but fear of visibility, fear of taking up space, fear of being truly seen. He says, tell them that fear was built from old wounds, and the wounds are healing. You will begin to feel a confidence that rises gently, not aggressively. A courage that feels authentic, not performative. A strength that flows from faith, not pressure. This internal shift will create external change. Opportunities will feel less intimidating. Decisions will feel less confusing. You will step forward with grace, conviction, and clarity because fear will no longer hold you hostage. Next, Michael reveals a powerful truth about relationships in your life. He shows that certain connections were meant only for a season. They helped you grow, but they could not join you in the next chapter. Their exit was not rejection, it was alignment. New connections are coming. These will be divine alignments, people who elevate you rather than drain you, people who see your value rather than diminish it, people who walk with you rather than pull you backward. Michael says, tell them their circle is being purified. This purification will bring peace, clarity, and emotional safety in ways you may not have experienced before. He then shows me a final vision, a scroll being unrolled before you. Written on it are moments, blessings, and breakthroughs that have been stored for you, waiting for your spirit to reach this level of readiness. Michael touches the scroll and says, they are stepping into fulfillment. Nothing will be withheld. What is coming is not random. It is intentional, precise, and aligned with everything you have endured, learned, and overcome. Anchor this now. Type "I enter my fulfillment" in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 1221 is released over your life. Stay present. The next revelation will bring you even closer to the core of your breakthrough. Beloved soul standing on the edge of divine transformation. As you enter this next unfolding, the atmosphere around you becomes deeply still, as though the spiritual realm itself is holding its breath in reverence for what Archangel Michael is about to release. His presence shifts, becoming both protective and profoundly tender, reflecting the importance of the revelation that now draws near. You may feel warmth rising along your spine, a gentle pulse in your spirit, or a quiet alertness settling over your mind. These are not coincidences. These are signals that your spirit is fully aligned with what heaven is preparing to reveal. Michael says, tell them this part reveals the truth behind the blessing itself. And with those words, a new dimension of understanding opens before you. Michael shows me a great chamber filled with radiant light. In the center of this chamber sits a large, sealed container, glowing with the intensity of divine purpose. This container represents the blessing assigned to your name. It has been preserved, protected, shielded, and watched over carefully by heaven. No enemy, no delay, no confusion, no setback has been able to touch it. Michael places his hand near it without opening it and says, this blessing was sealed until they were ready. Readiness in the spiritual realm is not about perfection. It is about alignment, resilience, clarity, and maturity. And your spirit has reached the level required for the seal to be removed. He reveals that the blessing is not a single event, but a convergence of breakthroughs that are meant to arrive together. It is the answer to prayers you prayed years apart. It is the reward for your endurance, your faithfulness, your inner battles, your silent sacrifices, and your refusal to abandon hope even when hope felt distant. Michael says, tell them heaven is honoring what the world ignored. Your blessing is heaven's response to every moment you pressed forward when no one knew how hard it was. It is heaven's recognition of every time you kept your heart pure when bitterness tried to take root. It is heaven's reward for every season you carried burdens silently while still uplifting others. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was unnoticed. Nothing was forgotten. He then shows me that the blessing has 3 layers. What is coming to you, what is being removed from you, and what is being awakened within you. The first layer, what is coming to you, includes opportunities aligned with your divine path, provision that supports your next chapter, relationships that elevate your spirit, and clarity that removes hesitation. Heaven is sending alignment into your life that will feel like a breath of fresh air after years of spiritual suffocation. Doors will open with ease. Conversations will shift in your favor. Events will unfold with precision. Michael says, tell them grace is going ahead of them. The second layer, what is being removed, includes old cycles, old emotional weights, and old spiritual assignments that once limited your movement. Michael shows that these restrictions have been dissolving over the last few weeks, even if you did not feel the shift directly. You may have noticed emotional detachment from things that once consumed you. You may have felt clarity about situations you once felt conflicted about. You may have sensed closure arising without confrontation. These are signs that the spiritual residue of former seasons is being cleared. Michael says, tell them release is already happening. What does not belong in your next season will quietly fall away. The third layer, what is being awakened within you, is perhaps the most significant. Michael reveals that your spirit carries dormant gifts, latent potential, and deep reservoirs of wisdom that have been waiting for activation. You have been walking beneath your capacity, not because you lacked ability, but because the timing for your awakening had not yet come. But now, the timing is here. You will begin to move with a confidence that feels natural, a discernment that feels sharp, and a spiritual sensitivity that feels amplified. Michael says, they will know themselves in ways they have never known before. This awakening is part of your blessing. It is not simply something happening around you, but something awakening within you. He then shifts your attention to the opposition you have faced. You may have wondered why certain challenges felt unusually heavy, why certain setbacks felt unusually timed, or why certain emotional waves struck without warning. Michael reveals that these were the final echoes of resistance trying to prevent your alignment. The closer you move toward your blessing, the more resistance attempted to rise. But now, that resistance has lost its access. Michael says, tell them the last battle has ended. You may feel a sense of calm rising within you, even as you hear this. That calm is the spiritual evidence that your atmosphere has shifted. Next, he shows me a vision of your future path. It is not straight, but it is illuminated. Every turn, every step, every choice is lit with a gentle, steady glow, showing that heaven is guiding your direction. You will not stumble into the wrong place. You will not miss what belongs to you. The blessing will find you because heaven is leading you. Michael says, their steps are guided. Their path is protected. Their blessing is guaranteed. Then he delivers a profound message. Tell them they are transitioning from survival to purpose. You have been surviving emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and at times physically. But this blessing brings a shift. You will no longer live in reaction. You will live in intention. You will no longer walk with uncertainty. You will walk with clarity. You will no longer feel like life is happening to you. You will move knowing that heaven is working through you. Finally, Michael steps closer, placing his hand over the sealed container once more, and says, the next part will open what has been sealed. This means the next revelation will uncover the nature of the blessing itself. What was hidden will be named. What was sealed will be unveiled. You are closer than ever to the moment heaven has been preparing for you. Anchor this truth in your spirit. Type I am ready for my unveiling in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 553 is released over your life. Stay near, for the revelation ahead carries the essence of your breakthrough. Beloved spirit standing at the doorway of fulfillment, as you step into this final revelation, the atmosphere around you becomes charged with a holy weight, the kind of weight that settles only when heaven is preparing to unveil what has been sealed for far too long. Archangel Michael stands before you in full radiance, his presence brighter, stronger, and more commanding than in any previous moment of this journey. His wings extend wide as though sheltering you from every distraction, every doubt, every lingering residue of what once tried to break you. You may feel a deep warmth rising through your chest, a trembling awareness in your spirit, or an inner quiet that pulls you into complete focus. These are not emotional reactions. They are confirmations. Your spirit knows that what is about to be revealed carries the essence of the warning, the promise, the blessing, and the destiny written into your name. Michael says, "Tell them the appointed hour has arrived." And with those words, heaven opens. He shows me once more the sealed container you saw in the previous revelation. But now, instead of simply resting in its sacred chamber, it begins to glow with greater intensity, pulsing with the rhythm of divine timing. Michael places both hands over it and says, "They are ready." As he speaks, the seal breaks, not with force, but with an effortless release, like something that has been waiting centuries for this exact moment. The container opens and light pours out, filling the atmosphere, washing over your spirit, illuminating everything hidden or unclear. Michael steps aside so you can see the blessing for yourself. Inside the container is not an object, but a convergence of spiritual currents representing what heaven has prepared for your next chapter. Michael explains that your blessing is not one-dimensional. Their blessing, he says, is a culmination of everything they have endured, everything they have learned, everything they have prayed for, everything they have hoped for, and everything they have faithfully waited for. It is the healing of old wounds. It is the restoration of lost opportunities. It is the expansion of your calling. It is the arrival of divine connections. It is the unlocking of resources. It is the strengthening of your spirit. It is the awakening of your true self. It is not one blessing. It is a river. He then reveals the truth behind the title that drew you into this message. The phrase, "This is the final warning," was not meant to frighten you. It was meant to awaken what had fallen asleep. You are entering a window of divine timing where blessings that were once delayed were becoming active. But this window required awareness. If you had ignored the call, the blessing would not have disappeared, but the alignment required for its release could have passed. Heaven needed you present, fully present, and you responded. Michael says, because they responded, the blessing will manifest without hindrance. Your obedience to stay, to listen, to receive, has positioned your life for the fulfillment now unfolding. He shows me a vision of your future, not as a distant dream, but as a path illuminated before you. You are walking with a renewed posture, not heavy with the past, but lifted by destiny. You move with confidence because you are guided. You speak with clarity because your spirit has been awakened. You choose with discernment because you are no longer bound by old patterns. You love with wisdom because your heart has been healed. You rise with authority because you have survived the season meant to silence you. Michael says, they will walk differently now. They will choose differently. They will live differently. This is what awakening looks like. Then he reveals something intimate, a shift in your identity. Not who you are outwardly, but who you are spiritually. You are stepping out of an old version of yourself, the version shaped by survival, fear, uncertainty, and heartbreak. You are stepping into the version heaven wrote before your story began. The version aligned with purpose, clarity, spiritual authority, and divine assignment. He says, tell them the blessing is not what comes to them. The blessing is who they become. You are becoming the person capable of carrying the destiny heaven has prepared. Michael now turns your attention to relationships. He shows that the people who belong in your next chapter will arrive with peace, alignment, clarity, and mutual elevation. You will not be confused about them. You will not feel drained by them. You will not question their intention. Heaven is guiding connections that match your calling. At the same time, former connections may fade quietly, not because of conflict, but because the alignment has shifted. Michael says, Tell them the circle changes when the spirit rises. What remains will be what is meant to remain. What leaves will make room for what elevates. He then reveals the final truth of this entire journey. Tell them their blessing will meet them in movement. This means your next steps, your choices, your action and faith, your willingness to walk forward will activate everything heaven has prepared. You are not waiting anymore. You are walking into it. Heaven moves with those who move toward destiny. And you are entering the season where every step you take in alignment will produce fruit, favor, and fulfillment. Michael closes with a blessing over your spirit. Tell them they are ready. Tell them they will not miss it. Tell them heaven walks with them now. A wave of peace moves through the atmosphere, confirming the completion of this prophetic journey. What was sealed is now open. What was hidden is now revealed. What was delayed is now released. What was uncertain is now clear. Anchor this final revelation into your spirit. Type "I receive my appointed blessing" in the comments if this speaks to your soul. Blessing code 10,000 is released over your life. Before you leave this sacred moment, take a moment to like this video, comment your agreement, share this message with someone who needs awakening, hype this message in the thread, and subscribe so this prophetic connection continues to guide your journey. Just as Archangel Michael revealed the unveiling of what has been sealed for you, this mission exists to help countless souls step into their own appointed hour. When you support this work, you are not fueling a channel. You are fueling a move of God that reaches hearts in the very moment they need awakening. The scripture that says, "The gates of heaven open to the faithful," is alive in this moment, speaking directly to you. Hear this as a divine invitation. I am asking you, as one who has received revelation today, to step into the river that carries this message to others. Your giving is not a transaction. It is a prophetic activation, a spiritual release that multiplies in your own life. Those who sow into this mission sow into their own breakthrough, their own clarity, their own elevation. Use Super Thanks. Join the membership or use the PayPal link in the description and release what heaven is stirring in your heart. Do not hesitate. Step boldly. Heaven moves when you do.